Hello, my name's Amy, and today I'm going to be talking about my writing goals for 2022. Now, I spent most of this year wondering where the time had gone. Every time we got to a new season, I couldn't really remember what I'd been doing for the previous 3 months, and that hasn't really changed now that we've got to the end of the year. I actually ruled out making a video wrapping up my goals for this year because I already know which ones I succeeded at and failed at. It's very, very simple. I wanted to publish 3 books this year and I have only published 1. Having said that, the second turned out to be a lot longer than anticipated and it is really, really close to being finished. Early copies are going out to my newsletter subscribers this week and the pre-order will be going up for very early next year, so I think we'll call it 2 books for 2021. Which is not bad by any means. I am very happy with that because I've continued one series and wrapped up another. But 2021 was quite instructive. I have learned how much I can actually accomplish while also working and looking after my daughter. And I always knew 3 books was ambitious, even though I didn't have to write any of them this year, but I've now learned just how ambitious that was. But also looking back at 2021, it's very clear to me that I could have got closer to 3 books if I had been a bit more focused. This has been a big problem for me in my writing life over the last few years. I'm very good at getting work done, I'm very efficient, I work fast, but sticking with one project and just seeing it right through to the end is a real challenge for me in a way it didn't used to be. I'm constantly flitting off to other ideas, writing half a book, then moving on to something else, then coming back to the first book, finishing things and never editing them. And that has really dented the amount I managed to get finished and wrapped up in 2021. So let's talk about 2022 because that is really what this video is about. I don't tend to pick a word of the year. Possibly picked one last year, but I don't know what it was. If I was to pick one for 2022 though, I think it would be discipline. I know perfectly well that I am capable of writing a book, editing a book and getting it published, but I also know I could do it a lot faster if I was more disciplined and stopped myself getting distracted. So that is going to be my big task for 2022. In terms of the books that I actually want to finish and publish, there are 2 on the schedule right now. The first is the start of a new fantasy series. This is one I talked about briefly in my last NaNoWriMo vlog because I actually wrote a little bit of it at the end of November. This is a story that started life as a novella a few years ago. And I liked the novella, but I felt, as I often do in novellas, that I was trying to pack too much in. It had a very big emotional ending, but the length of the novella didn't really warrant that. So I knew as soon as that draft was finished that it really needed to be a novel, and that's what I've now gone back to, and I'm working to turn it into one. I currently, as I record this, have 16,000 words written. I think it's going to be about an 80,000 word book. My goal right now is to have the first draft finished by the end of February, which I think is very doable. The one potential spanner in the works is that I don't have any kind of outline and I really don't know where this story is going. I have far less of a plot in my head than I would usually have when I'm drafting a book. But I'm fairly hopeful I can work that out along the way. And the other book I want to work on in 2022 is the 3rd cyberpunk novel in my Eidolon Division trilogy. It's the 2nd book, Echo State, which is just about to come out, so I really want to wrap up and publish the 3rd book in 2022. There was a 2-year gap between the 1st and 2nd books, which I really did not intend. Time got away from me. They're very big, complicated books. Echo State took really twice as long as I thought it was going to. And as a result, the series ended up stalling, which I really hadn't planned for. So I definitely don't want another 2 years to go past between the second and third books, which makes the third book a definite priority in 2022. My plan right now is to start drafting it as soon as the fantasy is finished by the end of February. Now this one I do have an idea of the plot. I've been making notes for this third book ever since I started drafting the first book in the trilogy. So whilst there are still a lot of details to work out, I do know roughly where it's going. I know what has to be revealed about the main character and some plot points that are going to feed into that. That won't necessarily make it an easy book to write because this trilogy has had very complicated plots in each volume, and it is the third book, which means there's a lot to wrap up, and that may mean it's another really long book. But I'm reasonably confident about it, and I'm really looking forward to it because there are things that I have been waiting to write in this third book ever since I started the trilogy. So let's talk briefly about publishing schedules. In the past, I have very firmly rejected setting myself any kinds of deadlines. I have never had a publishing schedule. I very rarely do pre-orders more than 2 or 3 weeks in advance. And I tend to just announce books to my newsletter when they're 2 or 3 months out from being finished. But of course, we come back to discipline, and I'm wondering if this year having a schedule would actually be advantageous. So I have set myself some tentative publishing deadlines. My plan right now is to get the fantasy book out in early July and then the third Eidolon division book out in early January, so about 6 months apart. And I've picked those dates for the very simple reason that my birthday is in early July and my partner's is almost exactly 6 months later in early January. So they seemed like sensible dates to pick. It would be really nice to celebrate our birthdays and my book releases at the same time. Which means after Echo's State is released in a few weeks, we're looking at another release in 6 months and another release 6 months after that. I'm a little bit apprehensive about that, I'm not going to lie. Like I said, I have really resisted setting deadlines for myself in the past. And I honestly don't know at this point whether having deadlines will give me the motivation to work harder and stay focused, or if I will just end up completely crashing and burning. Other than that, I don't really have any other writing goals. If I have time, there are other books I would like to finish that are half drafted. I've also got some short stories and novellas that I would like to finish and send out to my newsletter. There's also a book that is finished in first draft form and could do with a bit of tidying up, which would work really well serialized, which I've been wondering about. I don't think I would do it in Kindle Vella or any paid service like that, but I might put it up on my website. Right now though, that is really tentative, and I'm going to see how the publishing schedule and these main 2 books goes first. I have a big habit of overcommitting myself, but again, we're coming back to discipline. I'm trying to stay focused on these 2 books that I have set publishing plans for, and that same discipline actually comes into my video making as well. I recently launched a second channel talking about books and gaming and music and all things fantasy. And for the first time ever, I am trying to give myself a set publishing schedule for videos. Right now I am doing 2 videos over there a week. I may do 1 a week on weeks that I'm also publishing a video here, but I'm trying to set up a schedule and upload videos in advance and really stick to a regular upload calendar. Doing that over the last few weeks has been challenging, but in a good way, because again, it's really forcing me to focus, to get things finished, to not get distracted by half-baked ideas, and to not give up on things too soon. And I just really want to get back into the habit of staying the course, releasing things when I say I'm going to release them and not constantly push them back. And ultimately, I think that's going to be both beneficial for the people who are reading my books and watching my videos, but also for myself, because I think honestly life has been so chaotic recently that I do need that structure. So there are my plans for 2022. My last few years of writing and goal setting have been all about giving myself more balance, more flexibility, and I am going in completely the opposite direction for next year. I will of course report back later in the year, and there will be frequent updates in all my various vlogs. So I'd love it if you stuck around and followed me on this experiment. And I would also love it if you let me know your goals for 2022, writing or otherwise, in the comments. Sharing goals can be quite intimidating, putting them out there into the world, but it can also give you a level of accountability that's really useful. Now that I've made this video, if I completely scrap all my publishing plans next year and fail to upload any new videos, then you all get to watch me do it, which is a bit scary. So I will be back soon with more of my usual vlogs. Got lots of wintry content coming up. Until then, keep writing everyone, and I'll see you next time.